Fantasy Football Factory week number 9. We got the King of the South, Mincy. We got Moody in the Sticks. I am Stephen Che. We are brought to you, as always, by the DraftKings Pick 6 app. New DraftKings Pick 6 customers play $5, get $50 in bonus picks. If you don't know what Pick 6 is, it's super easy. Just pick 2 or more players that have more or less of a certain stat. Will Patrick Mahomes have more or less than 26.5 rushing yards? Will Jaden Daniels, we don't know if he's going to be in this week. Will Jonathan Taylor have more or less than 89.5 rushing yards?
Or 2.5 touchdowns at this point.
Yeah, he's been pretty incredible, legitimately in the MVP race. But get in on the action. Sign up using our promo code FACTORY, FACTORY. When you download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, the crown is yours. So we got to start. I feel like we start every week with just the major headlines. I think the biggest one is Cam Scadaboo, who has emerged as a very, very good and useful fantasy player despite being in a Giants offense that lost its best playmaker and is being led by a rookie quarterback. He's now out for the year with a gruesome ankle injury. Where does this leave? How do you view the Giants' offense fantasy-wise now moving forward?
Well, I just first want to say how bad it sucked. Because, you look at what the Giants have gone through the last few years. It's been rudderless. They get Dart in there. They make a great pick with Neighbors last year. He was one of the best receivers in the NFL. Scadaboo comes in and gives them some juice. This fan base had something to be excited about for the first time in freaking years. Mm-hmm. And then Neighbors and Scadaboo, who both look like stars, are out for the year. And the Scadaboo thing, that's one that could affect next year. That one was just gruesome and brutal. Obviously, it affects, I guess Tyron Tracy's going to, might be a startable number 2 just because he can also catch the ball at the backfield. He's a former wide receiver in college. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to be as good of a goal line back as Scadaboo for sure. But I think maybe he's a playable option. But it just more sucks for their fans and for Dart, who's coming here and really giving them some juice. And he loses his, he never gets to play with Neighbors and he loses Scadaboo. Just the hardest part of fantasy football. You get so excited for it, and then bodies just go down.
Yeah, it has been unfortunate. We, every week we start the show with at least one big injury, him being the latest. We can get into, were there any other major fantasy headlines? We saw Rashee Rice obviously continue to emerge on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, the Rashee Rice thing, Lamar Jackson finally coming back Thursday after they sat him out Sunday, but they did win without him. They announced Puka's going to be back this week too, which is really big for the Rams. When I look around the rest of the NFL, like you said, the Mahomes, they had a bad first half on Monday Night Football last night. We're taping this Tuesday. Mm-hmm. But he ended up throwing for almost 300 again. Rashee Rice in PPR, 9 more catches, 93 and a touchdown. Kelsey almost had 100. That thing's humming. This Chiefs offense kind of feels like it's partying like it's 2018 a little bit again. And Mahomes, I know we talked about Mahomes before the year, what we thought of in fantasy. He's chunking it. He's throwing for 300 every week.
Yeah, they are looking good, but my caution is they still cannot run the football.
No.
And I think, for fantasy purposes, it's great. Mahomes, 299 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Running the ball, Pacheco had 12 for 58. That's decent. But you struggle to see, okay, where's the, Brashard Smith? We thought he was going to maybe be a guy.
Thought he'd be like a third down
3
back.
carries, 8 yards.
He's just like trying to get the McKinnon third down role.
Right. Kareem Hunt's going to be like the goal line guy and get a couple of the tough yards. Pacheco was decent last night, but I'm not blown away being like, oh, wow, the Chiefs are really, running that thing. In a game where they're winning 28-7, I would have hoped to see some more dominance on the ground. But, hey, Rashee Rice looks great. Kelsey even. Kelsey, he led the game in receiving yards, 99 yards, but that run down the sideline was Daniel Jones against the Eagles-esque, where he's basically tripping over himself to finish. He ended up getting tackled, but it was as ugly of a whatever it was 50-yard gain as you could have.
Well, the one thing on the Kelsey front is the last few years people have been keying on him because they've had kind of bare bones receiver stuff, and now with Rice and Worthy out there, you can no longer key on Kelsey. And so even though he's not as explosive as he used to be, he's going to get more targets because, when you play the Chiefs, you can't say, hey, we got to take Kelsey away anymore.
Right. Yeah. Any big takeaways?
Kelsey's actually He's
Yep.
leading them with 474 receiving yards, which kind of shows how much Mahomes has been able to spread it around too. I mean, he really has done a great job without Rashee Rice early in the season of finding different targets and making things work. And now that they've got all their weapons, I think this is going to be one of the best teams in the NFL. I really do.
I mean, they're the favorite right now to win the Super Bowl. It's plus 450 on DraftKings. They're favorite to win the division as well. I mean, him leading them in receiving is not crazy surprising, given that Worthy missed, was it 3 games, and obviously Rashee Rice missed the first 6 games.
I think the other thing I want to mention was we were all right on the Bo Nix party. 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, 44 points for Denver. They just came out and put on a show against Dallas. We were all on that.
I got crushed in my fantasy league with friends from home because I took Bo Nix over Baker. And it was like, how could you do that? I was like, I like Bo Nix. Baker's gonna be fine. Let's get into the Week 9 slate. We got a couple more higher totals here, which is nice to see. We're gonna exclude the Baltimore Miami game, which is a 50.5 point total. Lamar's return. Baltimore favored by 7.5. We're gonna start with Denver Houston. This one a very low total, 39.5. Houston favored by 1.5, which was interesting to me. We got San Francisco going to the Giants cross country. They're still favored by 2.5 points. 49.5 is the total there. Indianapolis going to Pittsburgh in what could be a very fun game. 49.5 is the total there. Carolina going to Green Bay. Packers favored by 12.5 points. 45.5 is the total there. Minnesota going to Detroit in an NFC North battle. We expect to see J.J. McCarthy starting for that one. 47.5 is the total. Chargers going to Tennessee. They're favored by 9.5 points over Cam Ward. Next game is a former Super Bowl rematch. I don't remember exactly which number it was, but Atlanta going to New England. Drake May in the pass favored by 5.5. 45.5 is the total. Biggest total of the day is tied, actually. Chicago going to Cincinnati. The Bears favored by 2.5. Caleb Williams against Joe Flacco. Then we got Jacksonville going to the Raiders, the Maurice Jones-Drew Bowl. The Jags are favored by 3.5. 45.5 is total. The Saints going to the Rams. Rams getting 13.5 points. 44.5 is total. And then, I mean, I'm just gonna break it out. The Barstool game of the week is gonna be Kansas City Buffalo. Kansas City favored by 1.5. 52.5 is a total. Sunday Night Football, typically not in play. It's gonna be Seattle at Washington. Seattle 3.5 point favorite, 46.5 total. And then Monday night is the biggest total. Arizona going to Dallas. Dallas favored by 2.5. 54.5 is the total. Holy cow! Are we expecting to see a bunch of shootouts on the eve of an absolute stinker of a football weekend?
I think maybe there could be. Well, these Dallas games at home. I mean, Dallas has scored at least 40 in every home game, so I can understand why that one's really high. The one when I look at the games, you say like, what stands out to you? Minnesota's deader than fried chicken right now. You've seen the efforts the last 2 weeks. Jalen Hurts threw over 300. Herbert went way over 300. You know, McCarthy's back starting. Wentz is out for the year. But, I mean, they were holding McCarthy back because I don't think they thought he was ready from what I saw the first 2 weeks. I think Detroit, that's a division rivalry game. I think Detroit's going to come out and really, there's going to be a lot of passing value with what I've seen out of that Vikings pass defense. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a matchup I'm looking at pretty hard. And another observation from last week we didn't mention, we were all concerned about Caleb Williams still at 4-2. We all were saying it. And that effort against the Ravens, who have one of the worst pass defense in the NFL, was putrid.
They got some guys back, but yeah, I mean, Caleb hasn't been. I don't think he's been encouraging really outside of maybe 1 or 2 games this season.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
And I hope he's good. You know, when he has a clean pocket and he stands and delivers, he can throw the ball with the best of them. The issue is how often is he doing that? Is he, escaping the pocket a bunch? And a lot of people were in my mentions being like, you're not watching Bears games at all. We have Bears games on every week, and that is usually the main TV just because we got Big Cat and the Chicago guys, and we're all paying attention to it. Granted, there are several games on, but they've also been at primetime a couple of times. The Bears are definitely one of the more paid attention to teams from our whole company, especially people in the cave, which is me every week. So, I mean, this is what I've been seeing. If I'm wrong, then that's totally fine. It would be good for the NFL and especially Barstool if the Bears were good and if Caleb Williams was very good. So far, we haven't seen enough to say that, especially when you see a lot of other guys from this draft class doing really well. Obviously, Jaden Daniels having a tough year with injuries.
But Drake May
looks awesome. Bo Nix looks awesome. Well, the jury is certainly not out on him, but it's not. It hasn't been the best second year, but he can turn around.
And the other game I want to mention, because I know everybody's going to talk Chiefs, Bills, and all that, I want to talk about this Colts Steelers, because Pittsburgh has the highest paid defense in the NFL. In the last 2 weeks, Joe Flacco and Jordan Love have thrown for 700 yards against them. And Daniel Jones is lava hot. This game is in Pittsburgh, and I know Indy's been, every time they play at home, they score almost 40. But I'm real curious. This is Pittsburgh, they're still in a good spot because that division's been such a mess. But their manhood's got to be getting called out in practice this week. That was bad Sunday night in that second half. Indy's red hot. What do we think Daniel Jones there?
Why is the line here 3.5 for the Colts? I feel like it should be more based on things we've seen recently. The total's pretty high. I could see this being Colts smashing them in an under game, but we'll see. The Steelers tackling has been horrible.
Yeah, there's some weird scheme stuff. They're just guys are just like they just didn't cover Tucker Kraft the other night.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there because when you looked at Pittsburgh this year, you didn't think Rodgers was going to be elite, but he's been good enough to win games. He doesn't turn the ball over, which is a big thing. And they're still in a good spot, but their defense is 20. In the NFL, I think they're 31st against the pass with all the money invested in T.J. Watt and their pass.
And I feel like Jalen Ramsey has been playing pretty well as far as coverage, at least. They're
a bad injury for Deshaun Elliott too. Real bad.
Man, that looks gross.
Real bad.
Yeah, Moody, what game stands out to you on here?
Obviously, the ones y'all talked about. I think Bears-Bengals will be a shootout. Two other teams that I'm looking at, the Rams at home against the Saints. I think I think the Saints, it's going to kind of start to fall apart. Not that it already hasn't, but this just feels like a really bad spot for New Orleans on the road against the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford lights it up in that game. And then one that I'm paying close attention to is Brock Purdy against the Giants if he returns and he gets Ricky Pearsall back. I think it's a sneaky spot where you could really find some value this week. Obviously, I'm huge on Ricky Pearsall. I need him to get back on the field, get healthy. I've got 2 big bets on him this season for season long. Still have a chance, but I need him to get out there. And the Giants have been getting torched in the secondary. Obviously, we've talked about their front four being so good, but they really are giving up a lot on the back end. I think if Brock Purdy returns and they have all their weapons, I'm looking at the 49ers to put together a really good game on the road in New York.
So one game that stands out to me that you guys hadn't, or I guess Mincy mentioned it maybe, was Chicago-Cincinnati. Yeah. 52.5 is a total. Here's something we have to talk about. So since Joe Flacco took over, he only throws to Jamar Chase. The targets from this past week, second on the team in targets was Noah Fant and Chase Brown each had 3. Jamar Chase had 19. The week before, not very different. Jamar Chase, 12 for 91 this past week. The week before, we laddered him all the way up. I think he finished at 15 catches or something like that. He has to be wide receiver 1, right, in fantasy?
Oh, no doubt.
Devastating for people that traded him away 30 minutes before they traded for Joe Flacco. The totals aren't out yet, but I am dying to see what his receptions line is. If it's under 10, you have to take it.
The Rashee Rice one's gotten fascinating too, because it was 7 last night and he had 9 again. He's not, for yardage, it's not, he catches so many short balls, but he's getting targets like that too.
Yeah, it is. The receivers are eating. All right, let's talk about the positions for daily fantasy for this Sunday. Quarterbacks, we start with Josh Allen, top of the market, 7,300. Patrick Mahomes, 7,100. Justin Herbert, 6,800. Drake May, 6,500. It goes down by hundreds. After that, you can get all the way down to, we don't know if he's going to start yet at this point, but Andy Dalton, $4,300 would be the cheapest option. Mincy, what signal caller are you rocking with this week?
All right, signal callers I'm looking at. The Jared Goff, 6,000 against Minnesota. Like I said, the Minnesota pass defense has just looked awful the last couple weeks. I think morale's down right now. It feels like that season's just really heading south. And I do think they have a great coaching staff, but the fact they let Daniel Jones out of that building just has to kill them right now. Mm-hmm. The fact they had him as the backup, they tried to bring him back, and they couldn't. Flacco, 5,600, also worth mentioning, is another one. But, I think I'm rolling with Jared Goff. Like I said, I've seen enough out of this Vikings pass D the last 2 weeks that I think Detroit, that's a rivalry game in that division, and if they have a chance to bury them, I think they're going to do it.
Moody, who do you like from the quarterback position?
Matthew Stafford, I just mentioned it a moment ago at home against the Saints. He's going to get Puka back this week. I think he's going to light it up. You mentioned it a second ago as well. Joe Flacco was the name I was looking at. I watched that Bengals game very closely on Sunday. That offense looks great. They got the running game going. Chase Brown looked good. Samaje Perine had a big game as well. It just feels like offensively they're clicking, but that defense does not look good. Caleb Williams could expose them as well. As you mentioned, could be one of the higher scoring games of the week. So I'm pretty much between Flacco and Matthew Stafford this week.
Okay.
I got to give a shout out real quick to Nick Mangold, obviously, who we lost over the weekend. I felt like God has a funny sense of humor with the Jets getting that first win right after he passed away. And that Jets thing, Fields, they didn't even want to start him, and they threw up 39 on Cincy. That was crazy.
Yeah, and that is a big reason that I actually really like Caleb Williams this week.
Yeah.
$5,700. Him and Joe Flacco, as Moody just mentioned, $5,600. I think one of those guys is going to have, probably both of them have pretty good games. Daniel Jones also a pretty good mention at $6,200 when quarterbacks can pretty much do anything against the Steelers defense. Those are the guys that I would be looking at for this week. If you want to go away, zag when everyone's zigging, go with JJ McCarthy. But I don't foresee that being the best plan. But hey, it's got to work one of these weeks, right?
You might be smoking zigzags if you do that, honestly.
Let's talk about running backs. We got the potential MVP candidate, Jonathan Taylor, $9,800.
This is the highest price. This is the highest price we've seen all year. $9,800. Yeah. We hadn't seen a 10K yet.
Yeah, when you score 3 touchdowns every week, it's probably going to be like that. Jonathan Taylor, $9,800. Big drop to Christian McCaffrey at $8,800. Bijan Robinson, $8,700. Another big drop to Jahmyr Gibbs at $8,000. Josh Jacobs at $7,700. James Cook, who had a big game, at $7,200. Then we get down to Kyron Williams, $6,800. Ashton Genty, $6,700. Another big drop to Kamani Vidal, $6,300. DeAndre Swift, $6,100. Goes down by hundreds. After that, you can get all the way down to like $4,500 if you want Kenny Gainwell. Moody, who do you like running the ball?
I really think I'm going to spend the money on Christian McCaffrey at $8,800. I think this is a really good matchup for them. He just catches so many balls out of the backfield, too. He's coming off his worst game of the season, which maybe will make other people be off of him. But he has had at least 22.7 points in every game this year except for one. The consistency is absolutely insane. So I think I'm going to be on McCaffrey this week. Not normally somebody that I target, but I like McCaffrey. I'm also going back to the well with Chase Brown. 5,900, had a great week, 2 touchdowns. He honestly saved my betting week last week. I had him for 2+ touchdowns, kind of saved my ass. But I love him at 5,900. They've gotten the run game going. We just talked about that being a shootout. I think it's a really good spot for Chase Brown as well. And then one other name I'm looking at potentially, Travis Etienne against Las Vegas. The Raiders are just a lost cause. I think there's a chance for Etienne to get it going just a little bit as well.
$5,600, not a bad price. Mincy, who do you like for the
Not
running
bad.
backs?
I do this every time he's at home when they have bad teams. But, Josh Jacobs has scored 2 touchdowns again this week at home against Carolina. He always gets in the end zone. Carolina's run D is bad. They're going to whip their ass, and they're going to be running the ball. So I'm going with him at $7,700. And I'm thinking about taking a cheap shot on Tyrone Tracy at $5,100.
Okay.
It's just such a low price, and he catches the ball. I think he's going to get big run. And I think $5,100 is just a really low price. And, man, even without Scatterboo and Neighbors, Dart, they got juice, man. They're scoring some points. They're moving the ball. So I think I'm going to go cheap with him, save some money, and be able to spend it at receiver.
I like the Christian McCaffrey call by Moody, but obviously very expensive. I think DeAndre Swift is a decent option against Cincinnati. If you're looking for a cheap one, don't rule out Blake Corum. The Rams are getting the Saints. It is a very big spread, 13.5. It's in LA. If things get out of hand, maybe we see some Blake Corum at $4,800. Not a bad option.
I like that call, and I like Williams too, because the thing is, Moody said, I love Stafford as a player, But I just think this is one of those games the Rams get up a couple touchdowns and just run the ball in the second half. I think it might hurt Stafford and those guys a little bit.
Yeah, and one more, just if we think the Vikings are going to get blown out, Aaron Jones, not a terrible option. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to be on passing downs. 5,200. He's back from injury. All right, wide receivers. Top of the market is Puka Nacua, $8,500. Not Jamar Chase, who's $8,400. Amon St. Brown a notch below at $83. Then we got Justin Jefferson, $7,800. Rashee Rice, $7,600. Devontae Adams, $7,500. Nico Collins, $7,100. Rome Odunze, $6,600. Then it goes down by hundreds after that. You can get all the way down to $3,100 if you want Patrick Bryant. Mincy, who do you like receivers?
I saved the money on purpose to get Jamar Chase. That was the point of the Tyrone Tracy move. Like you said, it's, the DFS is full point PPR. Mm-hmm. So if you're getting 10 to 12 balls caught, you got to get them. So I did that on purpose to get Jamar Chase. And I think I'm going to spend the money on Rashee Rice, too, at 76, just because the PPR thing. I mean, you just know you're getting the points if he's catching 8 to 10 balls a game. So that's going to break me, those two. And so I'm currently looking through some cheaper options to get my final guy. Wan'Dale Robinson at 5,100 is not horrible. I mean, balls. Yeah, that's kind of a thought. He's one I'm looking at. Jameson Williams is kind of, I always am in love with him because the speed and stuff, but it hadn't been what we thought. But but 4,800 is so cheap. I think I may just go down with the well there at 4,800 because the DFS thing, you're playing, if you're playing these $2.7 million contests, those guys that can bust it, the long plays, you kind of got to have those guys and take some shots. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're in daily fantasy head-to-head, I think those guys' value's less because they can kill you.
Yeah. Moody, who do you like for the pass catchers?
Obviously, those names that Mintz just mentioned are great. I don't know if I'll have enough money for all of them. I've got two guys that I really love this week, though. One is Brian Thomas Jr. against the Raiders. Look, I get it. I know he's been terrible at times. They're coming off a bye, and it just feels like to me, if he is going to have a big game this season, this is the perfect opportunity. Coming off a bye, you get a Raiders team that has been terrible, that's given up tons of yards, and he's cheaper than he's been all season, $6,200. I like Brian Thomas. I think he's going to put together his best performance of the season this year. That is my plant your flag play of the week. Brian Thomas Jr., the bounce back effort this week against the Raiders. I mentioned Ricky Pearsall earlier. If he plays, I like him as well at 5,400. And then one of my cheap options, Trey Tucker from the Raiders. This is a guy that's getting a ton of touches. He's got this the ability to break a big one at any point, and he's really kind of become their number one. Jacoby Myers has not done much this season at all. I think the Raiders will play from behind in the second half of this game. Trey Tucker is going to get his touches. I like him at 4,800 as my cheap option.
I love that. I'm actually going to be in a lot of cheap receivers this week. I do like Rome Odunze, $6,600. Pretty much everyone going against the Bengals I like. I'm with you on the Jags receiver. I am with Travis Hunter, though. A guy who had 14 targets last week, 8 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. He also had a carry. I mean, similar thinking. I just do not fully believe in Brian Thomas Jr. at this point. I don't know what necessarily is going on here, but they are giving Travis Hunter more and more snaps on offense. So he's taken advantage. Last week, 87% of snaps on offense. The week before, 77%. Week before that, 67%, and before he had cracked 61. So Travis Hunter, it looks like they're getting a little bit more involved. So I like him to go against a tough Raiders pass, or tough in a sarcastic way, a soft Raiders pass D.
I like that. I got one more cheap one to mention. I want to see what y'all think of it. Christian Watson came back at 4 for 85 last week. He's 4,400. Do we think he could be getting that long ball roll again, or is he just too unreliable?
I think he is that long ball roll. The worry for me in that would be they're 12.5 point favorites against Carolina. Yeah. Are they really going to be throwing?
That's why I like
much?
Jacobs.
Yeah.
And I would add that Matthew Golden still outsnapped him by a long shot. Watson had the better game, but Golden was on the field a lot more. So I think there's just going to be some volatility between those two guys as far as who's going to get the points each week.
Yeah, and there's one other guy that I want to mention, and he's actually going to be my playing your flag player of the week, it's my guy, Alec Pierce, Mr. Longest Catch every week.
Yes.
He gets one of these long balls. Alec Pierce, longest catch is the best bet you're going to find. Bet it every week. Forget about it. They throw it to him, and they throw it to him deep. And this week he gets a Pittsburgh secondary that is terrible. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey has been playing well, but Deshaun Elliott's now out. They are giving up a ton of passing yards, and they struggle to tackle. Alec Pierce is a guy who, ball in the air and after the catch, is a weapon. Give me Alec Pierce, $4,600. I think he's a pretty good deal this week.
I like it.
Che, Alec Pierce has been saving me in my guillotine league. He hasn't been popping off, but the last 2 weeks I've been back against the wall, and he's been my last play each week. He has saved me. Shout out to Alec Pierce, one of my favorite players in the NFL at the moment.
He had 5 for 98 2 weeks ago.
Thank God.
This past week, only 2 catches, but 5 targets, 69 yards. He had a very, very deep one. I think it was like 45 yards. All right, let's talk about tight ends. What tight ends do you guys like? Starts with Tucker Kraft, top of the market, 5,700. Tyler Warren, 5,500. Oronde Gadsden the second, making quite the leap, 5,300. Brock Bowers, we do not know if he's going to play at this moment, but 5,000. George Kittle, 4,800. Travis Kelce, 4,600. Sam Laporta, 4,300. Then it goes down by hundreds after that. If you really want to save, Dawson Knox is $2,500. Moody, who you got?
I don't have a ton of money left to spend. Kyle Pitts, once again, I've thrown him out there a decent amount this year. He coming off one of his best games of the season, did get into the end zone, had 9 catches for 59. It just feels like he is such a safety valve there. And Mintz mentioned it last week, like he's the number 2 option. And then last week without Drake London there, he was the number 1 option. So he took advantage of that. He's just a really consistent tight end at this point. Like he's not going to blow the roof off, but he has been really good this season. I like him at 4,200. And then one other name that I've just got to throw out there when I'm looking real cheap is my guy. I don't even see him on here, actually. Rams tight end.
Higbee?
Why am I not seeing him? Oh, is he not playing? Anyways, Higbee. Yeah, there he is, 3,000. I couldn't find him for a second. There's Tyler Higbee. I love the Higbee. He hasn't done a ton this season, but I think he could get a touchdown in this game, to be honest with you. So at $3K, that's just like a really cheap option that I do like. I'm a big Tyler Higbee believer. I think this is a good week for him.
All right, Mincy, who you got at tight end?
I'm just going to play my hunch and trust my Detroit analysis, and I'm going with Laporta at 4,300. I know the yardage totals hadn't necessarily been the best this year, but I think that Jared Goff's going to have a huge game, and I think Laporta finds the end zone.
Okay. I am going to go with Tyler Warren, $5,500. Again, I'm kind of attacking these very big numbers. This is a 49.5-point game. Steelers' terrible defense. Tyler Warren, 5,500 is going to be my play, and I'm saving the money with the receivers on the cheap end. All right, defense, special teams. Packers, top of the market, 4,000 going against the Panthers. Rams, 3,900. Chargers, 3,800, goes down by hundreds. 2,000 is the bottom of the market with the Carolina Panthers. Mincy, who you got on defense, special teams?
All right, I got to save some cheese here because I've spent a whole hell of a lot. So I'm bargain shopping. Oh, I can't do Panthers. There's just no way. God, they're bad. I think I'm going to go with the Giants at 2,400. I know Moody's big on the Niners, but I got to save some money. Hopefully the Giants front four does something. But money's just so tight because I spent it on the chase for She Rice just broke me. So it is what it is.
All right. Moody, who you got?
I've got Denver this week at Houston, 3,200. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. This just feels like 2 great defenses going head to head. They're both going to, lean on the offenses in this one. Denver not quite as good away from home offensively. So, but I'm expecting their defense to be the reason that they win this game. I got Denver's defense, 3,200.
All right. What I'm looking at is the Jags, 3,300. They haven't been good the past 2 weeks when they've lost. But before that, taking the ball away at a very high rate, and they're going to get a Raiders team that has turned the ball over at a very high rate. So give me the Jags at $3,300. All right, gentlemen, any closing thoughts for as we head into week 9?
I mean, it just goes so fast. I mean, I know
it does.
And then, actually, I do want to say a closing thoughts thing. Obviously, we've been dealing with a lot of Barstool, and I just want to mention Beef. I mean, literally one of the most genuine people I've ever met in the world, ever. I mean, he was, what was he here for, about a year?
About
that a year. Like, I mean, I probably hung out with him 10, 12 times, did a few classics with him. Man, that dude never met a soul he didn't like. Always a smile on his face. Just lights up a room with his energy. I mean, you just don't meet people like that in life that are unforgettable, and it's a loss that we're going to feel forever. And, to think he was only here a year and the impact he had. I mean, he was, we've got a lot of wild characters and stuff here, and no one didn't like Beef.
Yep.
And that's an accomplishment in this company. And it's just so sad. I mean, he's 31 years old, man. And also Nick Mangold, too. I got to mention that. Just awesome dude. Love Barstool. Hall of Fame NFL lineman for the Jets and Ohio State. Was real tight with so many people. Big cat, large. Was always around the New York office. I don't know. Anyway, it's weird because we're coming here to talk about fantasy football because life's got to go on. The show always must go on. But, like, you lose people like that when they're young. I mean, that leaves holes in your life that you can't. It's tough.
Yeah, huge loss for both. Beef, yeah, obviously 31 years old is crazy young. He was such a nice guy. Everybody's kind of said that. The Nick Mangold one, incredible dude, great dad, and just like a regular guy. Like I think Brandon said it pretty well in the act where he had every right to be like, I'm the man, I'm this guy, because he had been his whole life as a first-round pick, Ohio State, NFL. But when he was talking to you, he always made you feel like the man. So I thought he was the best. One thing that gets me, and you said it, Hall of Fame lineman. I asked him about this a few years ago because he was, I went to Hofstra in Long Island, which is where the Jets had training camp for a while, even when he was there. And, I was pretty close to the team. Obviously, I'm a Bucs fan, so I wasn't as interested specifically in the Jets. But I knew Nick Mangold was a very, very good player. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, made the second-team All-Pro in 2011. I asked him, I was like, do you anticipate making the Hall of Fame? And he told me no. And I was surprised, and he said that he didn't think he had enough All-Pros. 7-time Pro Bowler obviously is incredible. The guy played, whatever it was, 10, 11 years. He was the best center for a long time. I would be shocked if he didn't make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Hopefully, I know he's inducted into the Jets Ring of Honor. Hopefully, his case gets made because he was so dominant as a player, and the whole Jets line was really, really good for a long time. They go to the AFC Championship game and they
never had
runs.
Quarterback play.
And exactly, they had Mark Sanchez at quarterback. So I would really like to see him get his induction into Canton because I always thought he deserved it, even when he was playing. You're like, all right, well, this guy's, we had Zach Martin in here last week, and, Zach Martin has the accolades and, or has enough All-Pros and, Pro Bowls and all that stuff. And I feel like they were, obviously they played different positions, but pretty similar where it's like, all right, that's the best guard in the game. That's the best center in the game.
And the longevity was there.
Yeah.
That's the big thing is the longevity. And the other thing about Nick, I mean, he was one of the best linemen in the world, but he was a better character in person than he was a lineman. Yeah. I mean, 4 kids, I remember, I'll never forget, him and Large and Ann, we all did Hogs for the Cause and NOLA together, and he just loved barbecue, just went around New Orleans. I mean, just awesome dude. Yeah. And it's, but anyway, I just felt like we owe a tribute to both him and Beef. But the show, it's tough. I thought y'all did a great job with the act yesterday. I mean, I know it was tough. Kind of came on, talked about it, and it's one of those things, man. The show must go on, but I really respect how Big Cat and everybody's handling it this week.
Yeah, I think the part that was a little bit tough about that is we found out 10 minutes before the show, so it's not like you really have any time to, process the information. It's more like, okay, wow, that's very shocking news. All right, go to your seats. We're about to start the show. And that I think that was tough. And to nobody's fault, they were going to announce it at the start of the act. We can't cater around that show. But yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, well, just two giants that will be missed forever. And like I said, the beef thing, last thing, I mean, he was only here a year. To have that kind of impact in a year, I mean, he wasn't like, he hadn't been here 5 or 10 years, and this dude was just universally loved. I got texts from probably 30 people yesterday just that follow Foreplay and follow Barstool that were crushed, that maybe like met him at a classic or whatever. And like the impact he had was so big. Oh, man. Anyway, I don't really know how to close with anything else, but I just thought we had to mention it.
Of course. Yep. Yeah, on that note, we'll see you next week and hopefully see you in the winner's circle. See you guys.